The entire journey of my life and the evolution of the person that I was to the person that I am today is like, I was always wearing a costume and trying to be what everybody else wanted me to be versus just being who I was and feeling like that was enough. And the only way that you can truly be proud of yourself is to set high, lofty goals, and regardless if you achieve them or not, it's not about the prize, it's about the process and the person that you become while you're on that pursuit to get that goal.
The reason this interview is going to change the world is because if a guy with your life, with my life, right? Super Bowl champion, beautiful wife, incredible kids, achievement. You can get to all of those places, but if you arrive there with someone you don't love, you're going to feel the exact same way. Welcome back to Max Out with Ed Mylett. I got to be honest with you. I so wish we were recording everything that we just did off camera because we've had one of the greatest interviews I've ever done and we haven't even started yet. So I'm so excited to have this gentleman to my left here. This jacked up dude right here to my left is a Super Bowl champion. See that thing right there? He's letting me wear this for the interview. That is his Super Bowl ring, everybody. He's a Pro Bowler. He is a guy who dominated his position in football. And by looking at him, right now you're thinking, this dude was a tight end for sure, right? Maybe he was a defensive end, but actually this is a punter in the NFL and has the all-time Super Bowl record in a Super Bowl for punting that we're going to talk about. He's dominated the fitness space post his career. He's a great father, 5 children, right? And one of the few people that I follow on social media to inspire me, to get my day going, to get my life going. And I have a funny feeling that today will be a life-altering conversation for many of you. So I'm so excited you're here, brother. This is Steve Weatherford, everyone. Thanks for being here, man.
That means a lot to me, man. I really mean that. But honestly, like, just for the people that are watching and listening, I mean, it was from the moment that I walked in this door, like we've never met each other before, and we have so many mutual friends that like continually like recommending us to each other, and it wasn't because like I could provide value to you or you could provide value to me. Like so many people were like, dude, you need to meet Ed, man. You guys are like so much alike and you guys have so much passion and you guys are like so weird at the same time. You know what I mean? But it's like always coming from people that I love, that also that you love, and it was like this was meant to be. But I mean, to see the way that this is kind of like this interview is going to go, just because of the time that we spent today, like dude, I've told Ed things that I haven't shared with anybody, and you really do. You have a really unique way of making people just feel really comfortable in your home, really comfortable to like share vulnerable things about themselves that they haven't shared with anybody else. Because I mean, you look at some of the other interviews that you've had.
Thanks, man.
Like people open up to you, man, and that is like I want to acknowledge you for showing up for who you really are and leading with the true person that you are, not like the costume that you think you need to put on in order to grow your Instagram account or get this many likes or get that many comments like you. And that's one thing that's always attracted me to you is you can tell the people that are like faking it for the gram, and you can tell the people that are genuinely and authentically pouring their heart and the dark things, you know, the great achievements, but also, you know, being relatable to people and saying like, listen, like, yeah, I've achieved this financial success and I've had this massive impact here, but dude, I still struggle with this and I still have problems, you know, setting boundaries and doing favors for people because I'm a people pleaser and I really just want to make people happy, and it's authentic, and it's real. So
thank you.
I heard from so many people that we need to connect.
Me too.
I'm like, man, I don't care what I need to do, but I feel like regardless if it's a podcast or it's just you and I just sitting down and talking, whatever that is that I can do for you to continue to impact people on the level and the scale that you're doing and continue to grow that, man. Like that's honestly, that's why I'm here, because I want to be able to share things on this podcast that I love to listen to, that other people have shared things that they've never shared before. Honestly, dude, your podcast and your show and just like you as a person, you're kind of turning yourself into like a priest, and people are coming here for like confessional. Like I'm looking at like an older, more handsome, more jacked version of myself.
He starts with older.
Well, listen, I was eventually going to get to more handsome, and that's something I highly regard myself.
Just so you know, this is being recorded. Everybody knows that I'm not more handsome than you, but thank you for saying that. All right, let's talk about you for a second. So in front of me first. I want to go back just a little, right? So you're Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler, awarded for awards in the NFL for being the most charitable guy in the league. You got 5 children. His social media stuff is so good, guys. I mean, if you want to know who I really like on social media, go look at who I follow. Many of you are going to watch this and see my Instagram. I follow a very small select group of people that move me, and you're one of those people. And so
it means a lot, man.
Yeah, brother. I mean, I think you're awesome, and I think your stuff is awesome too. So, but let's talk a little bit about little Steve. Let's go back just a little bit. So, you've achieved all these things, and by the way, you can tell from looking at him, this was an athlete, a world-class athlete who played the position of punter. But if we went through your whole life, you were a stud in multiple sports, in track and all these other sports. But what was your upbringing like? Like, what's your mom and dad like? Where'd you grow up? What shapes you?
I didn't have a white friend until I was 11 years old. This is something that we didn't talk about off camera. But I was born in Indiana. And age 2, moved down to Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and literally was like thrust into African American sports, for lack of a better word. And I wasn't that special, because they were just better than me.
You had athletes around you that were better than you as a kid.
Oh my gosh. Like I remember when I moved from Louisiana at age 13 to Terre Haute, Indiana, which is kind of like the city that I claim. I don't know why I claim that instead of Baton Rouge, but I guess it's because my family's from Indiana. But I remember leaving and being like the 6th man on the basketball team, and then moving to Terre Haute, Indiana, and be like, oh my God, he's 14 and he can touch the rim. It was like the biggest thing ever. And I had teammates that were dunking the ball in a basketball game. But it was like competition and elite competition, and the competitive spirit just in general was instilled at me at a very, very young age.
By the other athletes or by dad? Like by who?
Just that was something honestly that I feel like God just truly placed on my heart, just ambition, similar to you. I've always had a problem with motivation. It's not that I needed to find a place. I had too much of it.
Yeah.
And I know it's just like, it might sound braggadocious to people listening to this, but hear me out when I talk about the fact that my competitiveness and my self-worth really was almost kind of my demise as a person and as a human, and as somebody that fathered 5 children and a husband to my wife, an entrepreneur, and like on paper, like my life was perfect, and it is perfect. But the entire journey of my life and the evolution of the person that I was to the person that I am today is like, for the first time ever, like sitting here with you, like this is the first interview that I feel like, I don't feel like I know for a fact that I'm ever really doing as like, sounds so generic to refer to myself in third person, but as Steve. I feel like every other interview that I've done on ESPN and blah, 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 Good Morning America, all that stuff, like I was always wearing a costume and trying to be what everybody else wanted me to be versus just being who I was and feeling like that was enough. Like so much so, Ed, that I remember tracing it all back to a conversation I had with my mom, and I remember crying in her lap, 5 years old, kindergarten, and that was the first time that I really, really realized that I was different than other people, and I viewed different as like not good, because I was the type of different that always got in trouble in school. I mean, I went to principal's office for pulling the chair out from a girl that was about to sit down for me, like before lunchtime, my first day of kindergarten,
Okay.
And it was continual from there, but like none of those struggles and was I able to overcome because of like my ADHD, and I couldn't sit still, and it was back in the day when people didn't really understand ADHD. Right. They thought that was like a cop out for somebody that was just a mischievous kid, and now I'm 35 years old, and I literally have maybe like that much more control over it, and I've finally gotten to the point where I've embraced who I am, and now, what other people had looked at as kind of like a learning disability, I've been able to kind of mold that, shape that, package that, and utilize that as, listen, if I can never sit still, then I might as well keep myself busy doing something constructive. And so at 14 years old, I remember being in the dentist's office and picking up my first copy of Muscle and Fitness, and it was at that point, well, it was after I actually stole it and took it home and looked at it, because there's no bodybuilding.com. Yeah. It wasn't like I could go to Mylett.com and get content to be able to apply into my life, to learn how to train, to learn how to eat, to learn how to increase human performance. But kind of to go back to the conversation that I had with my mom and crying on her lap and realizing that I'm different, I formed an opinion of myself that different was bad, and that's kind of like what people on social media like. Different is not great, and it's almost kind of like now people are just now starting to appreciate the diversity in life. And I'm not just talking about race, I'm just talking about personalities, I'm talking about where people, the different walks of life, sexual preferences, all that stuff.
Yes.
And I'm a strong supporter of personal expression, and that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it feels, it's hard for people to be able to kind of, I don't want to say relate to that. I feel like it's incredibly relatable because everybody feels uncomfortable in their own skin.
They do.
You know, and I know like you and I have talked about that kind of off camera of how, there's always the performance anxiety of being enough for people.
You got it.
And so when I realized I was different, I started to hate myself for the pain that I caused my family.
Even that young.
Yeah.
What's interesting about you to me, brother, is that your differences, the things that are different about you, built you an externally great life.
For sure.
In other words, other people, their differences sometimes only work externally to their detriment. There's things though that worked for you, right? There's these things that are pretty damn good about, like, amazing.
It's just like, you talk about how I started to like self-love, and it was way past self-love because and maybe I created this story in my mind because my parents were amazing. I don't want this interview to reflect poorly on them because they loved me more unconditionally than you could ever love a kid. I mean, I'm sitting here in front of you, and I'm an influencer in the fitness industry. I'm an influencer in the personal development space. I'm an influencer to other fathers.
Yes.
And after achieving all the things that are on my Wikipedia page or all the other things that people look at and be like, man, this guy's life is perfect. A lot of people don't realize, because I've never shared it before, but now that I'm really kind of like stepping into the power that I'm really, really like authentically myself. I don't feel like I need to come on your show or come into your home and meet you and be any type of certain person that I'm not already, because the persons that we both have in common, whether they're the Mike O'Hearns or Randall Pecks or Bezos Koulians or Lewis Houses, like those are my best buddies, which are also your best buddies. And they're like, they really see me for what I am.
They love you.
So I've always looked at myself through a really distorted filter / mirror of myself, and I would always, whether that's nitpicking my physique or focusing on the two things that I did wrong on a launch that I did, $500,000 on, instead of focusing on the 98 things that I did so well. But I've been conditioned that way, and like that's the only reason I ever made it to the varsity team, because I started high school at 108 pounds. So, gosh, like how do you go from being 108 pounds as a 14-year-old young man to 14 years later on the cover of Muscle and Fitness,
unreal,
touted as the NFL's fittest man?
Unreal.
I tied my self-worth in the world and on this planet to my athletic achievements, because when I was a little boy, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, the only time anybody was ever like, hey, great job, man, was when I played sports.
You got it.
And so it was never like when I made the honor roll, because it didn't happen very often, because I couldn't sit still. I got A's and B's in school because I was smart, but I couldn't sit still. So I always failed discipline and behavior. But I always knew, or I always thought as a kid, that if I'm playing sports, I'm more than good enough. I'm great. I could be the best ever. And I always had a crazy amount of self-confidence when it came to sports, because I never disappointed myself when I played sports.
Yeah, right.
You
aren't often going to get a conversation like this in the world, okay?
I've done hundreds of podcasts. And honestly, either it wasn't a point in my life where I had this clarity, or I didn't feel comfortable enough with the person to be real. And the way that you make people feel comfortable enough, it's a benefit to you, because you're actually able to hear that story from that person, and I'm sure it changes you in certain ways.
It does.
But it benefits all these other people.
It benefits millions of people. Bro.
Yeah.
And it benefits me, because I struggle with the same things. And so all of you that are watching, for the most part, people who consume my type of content and yours are achievers or want to be. And so the first thing you said, brother, is so beautiful, no one ever says. Where does this stuff come from where we want to achieve? Okay, the first place it comes from is that when we are little boys and little girls, most of our acknowledgement, where we get a dopamine hit, like in our brain, where we feel good, is when we achieve.
Right.
you hit a home run, you won a track meet, you begin to confuse love with recognition. And in life, you want to always be addicted to recognition, but you can't confuse love with recognition, because if you don't love yourself, right, if you're not perfect as you are now, you're always going to chase recognition, and you're never going to be fulfilled. And so the rub is, how do we achieve like you've achieved, and you've achieved in a way that is bananas. I mean, just so you know, because he's very humble at this stage, and he's probably been always humble, but this is someone who is, you know, this is a guy that ends up getting into the NFL, ends up making a Pro Bowl, ends up winning a Super Bowl. Then in that Super Bowl, by the way, breaks the all-time punting record, 45-yard average in his career.
When we sit here right now and I'm able to share it,
Yeah.
like this is the beginning of a new chapter in my life
Yeah.
where I'm the hero in my own story. Finally, Ed.
Amazing.
You know what I mean? Like, it's always been every achievement that I've had, I've never acknowledged myself for it. I don't want this podcast to come off as like a pity party for me, because that's not what I want to get across to people. I'm sharing this sensitive, tender, vulnerable part of my life because I know there's so many freaking men out there, yourself included, that ties their self-worth to extrinsic things that we can't control.
You got it.
And even when we think we can control it, it's controlling us.
Right. So people out there, men and women, they think, I'm going to be happy when. So once I get this relationship, once I win this Super Bowl, once I make my first $100,000, once I make $1 million, they delay their bliss, I call it, until a certain achievement. The problem, everybody, is, and this is where Steve's at too, and I'm there, is that you bring you with you to all these places. And so until you love you when you get to those places, until you accept you're perfect as you are in those places, the reason this interview is going to change the world is because if a guy with your life, with my life, right, Super Bowl champion, beautiful wife, incredible kids, achievement, every room you walk into, somebody knows you. Good looking dude, stud, fit, all of it. And he has all of the things you think you want that will make you happy, okay? And he's here to tell you today that you can get to all of those places, but if you arrive there with someone you don't love, you're gonna feel the exact same way. And so the key in life is to learn to be blissfully dissatisfied, I call it, which means that you gotta learn to live in bliss now and still have dissatisfaction to achieve. People confuse satisfaction and happiness. Happiness is a completely different state than satisfaction. You can be dissatisfied, want to go to the next level, want to achieve, want to win a Super Bowl, want to get another ring, want to dominate the fitness space, but you can find a way to be happy in the process of it. You won't lose your drive. You think you lose your drive, you won't. You bite into a steak, it's delicious, it's blissful. You don't want less of a bite, you want another bite. So the more you can feed yourself love and bliss at this time, the more you're going to achieve. So let's talk about this. Are you telling me that even that day you make the Saints, you're not feeling great about yourself?
Oh my God. Dude, so this is a good, that's actually, we didn't talk about this, just so everybody listening and watching realizes, we didn't talk about this off camera. And it's funny that you said that, because the day that I realized that I actually made a pro football team, I walk into the locker room and they rearranged everybody's locker, because in training camp you have 103 people on your team, and then they trim it down to 53. So there's a lot of the buddies and friendships that you made during training camp, the guys are gone.
They're gone.
And so I walk in and I'm looking for where my locker used to be, and it's moved, and now they moved it to numerical. And so I'm number 7. And so I look to the right of my locker and it's number 5. Reggie freaking Bush.
Oh my gosh.
I look to my left and it's Drew freaking Brees, number 9. And I'm like, I'm thinking to myself, Ed, I'm like, I don't belong here. My God.
Yeah.
Like literally, that's the first thing I said to myself, that like, I don't belong here. I'm in between one of the greatest college football players of all time, and Drew freaking Brees.
Yeah, one of the greatest NFL players of all time.
Right. So and I'm in between them. Man, dude, this is a lot of pressure, but it wasn't I don't belong, like let's pack the bags and go home. I always learned, it's the imposter syndrome. Like right now, I played 10 NFL years. I played 10 years in the National Football League, and we have 16 games a year. So let's say, you include some playoff games in there. I played about 175 NFL games.
Yeah.
And I puked 175 times before the game.
You're not serious.
100% serious. And I actually shared a vomit bucket with Chris Snee, who's in the Ring of Honor for the New York Giants. We shared a puke bucket before the game, and he was one of the greatest at his position that's ever played in the NFL, and especially for the Giants, and we shared a puke bucket.
No
you know?
way.
Like I want to have a conversation with him now that I feel like I have a higher level of consciousness and I actually like really see myself for who I am. You have no idea how much like self-torment I've caused myself, and I've been able to take that self-torment and turn it into achievement.
Yes.
But every single achievement that you get, you know, you're 108 pounds and then you get to 200 pounds and that doesn't make you feel any better. And then you make it onto the varsity and that doesn't make you feel any better, and you thought it would. So you were talking about continually pushing the point of happiness past the cognitive horizon, because it's just like, once I get here, I'll be happy. And then you get there and you're like, well, you know what? Well, then once I get here, and then for people like you and me that are just like disgustingly ambitious and motivated for life and for impact and for income and for influence, you look at all those things and be like, how are you not happy?
Right.
You set a goal, you achieve it, you set another goal, you achieve it. Not to say like I haven't had a ton of failure and a ton of bad decisions and spent a couple nights in jail during that process, but I feel like it's really, really pertinent for me to share that on this podcast, because I know there's a lot of people out there that want to live the life that you're living, that want to live the life that I'm living, but I'm here to tell you right now, I made $15 million kicking a football for a living. I made another couple $1 million as an entrepreneur. When I walked away from that, money doesn't make you happy. A marriage won't make you happy. Having kids won't make you happy. Winning a Super Bowl, a Pro Bowl won't make you happy. A 10-year career won't make you happy until you look into the mirror and you brush your teeth and you love the person that's looking back at you, which is honestly, I'm in the infancy of actually being myself.
I love that you're trying
like 22 days that I've been able to look in the mirror while I brush my teeth. And some days are a little bit easier than others, because you have to think about it. I'm fighting 30 years of instincts of hating myself. So it's just like, if I look at a new goal that I set within my business, or a new fitness goal that I set for myself, or a new family goal that I set for myself, my instinct is to go to a place of self-hatred in order to motivate myself to achieve that goal. And I'm almost kind of like, I'm trying to like reprogram the system to pursue those things from a place of love of myself. And like you kind of alluded to it earlier, and this might be the only time I ever disagree with you, that you know we all need that affirmation from other people. But I've had so much affirmation in my life, and I'm not telling you this to you know to seem any certain type of way, but I've had so much affirmation in my life, it's desensitized myself to it, so much so that I don't believe any compliment that anybody ever gives me, or at least I didn't used to. Now when people give me a compliment, I have to stop my instinct of like sloughing it off to the side or giving that acknowledgement to somebody else, and actually accepting that gift from people.
Wonderful.
And believing it for myself. But that's a scary place to live, because you can't escape your own mind.
You got it.
Ed. You know, so whether it's the depression that sets in after achievement because it didn't make you better and it didn't make you feel better, or maybe it gave you a brief break from hating yourself. But as soon as you leave that ecosystem of people telling you how wonderful you are, or people wearing your Super Bowl ring, or people, you know, you taking a bunch of kids shoe shopping because they can't afford it, and you want them to go back to school in Newark, New Jersey with brand new kicks, because you know how much confidence that gave you and you got new kicks, whatever, any of that stuff. It might put a Band-Aid on the gunshot wound for the time being and make you feel like you can cover your wound and feel a little bit better. But at the end of the day, when you go sit in your car by yourself and you're driving home, the hate machine turns back on, because I'm like, now I don't feel any better about myself. So it's like, it's the difference in between, there's two types of happiness. There's the instantaneous happiness that we get from food, we get it from sex, we get it from drugs, we get it from alcohol, and you know, or lifting weights. And so my entire life up until about 3 weeks ago was filled with chasing the high, the high of achievement, chasing the high of you know, when I work out, I feel better for a brief amount of time, and then once those endorphins roll off, it's just like, God, I hate myself. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And I didn't even really realize that I was fueled by hate up until, you know, going through this process called Hardcore Leadership that Shanda Sumter put together. And she's a friend of mine, and she saw the pain in me, you know, but she also saw like the beauty and the love and the tenderness and the sensitivity that I have, that I give to people unconditionally, but I don't ever accept it. When people love me back, I don't accept it because I don't love myself. And so I've given my wife, I've given my 5 kids, I've given my friends, like new friends that I'm making like you, like I'm giving you the greatest gift ever, because I'm going to be an amazing friend to you. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do.
And the reason that I can be an amazing friend to you and love you and support you in everything that you're doing is A, because I believe in you.
Thank you.
But I've stepped into myself.
Yes.
And so I finally can truly love people unconditionally. I couldn't fully see my friends or accept any gifts from them until I could see myself.
It's harder work to put the other face on, bro. It's harder work to be Steve Weatherford than to be Steve.
Right to it, because I can show up here and like I've never ever shared this with anybody ever before, but I ended up winning the Walter Payton Man of the Year Philanthropic Award, the most philanthropic guy in the NFL, and it wasn't like I was some, Super Bowl quarterback or cornerback. I was like the least respected position in football, but I was able to earn respect because of my work ethic. I was able to earn respect because of my philanthropy and the way that I genuinely and authentically showed up for people. If one of my teammates got hurt, I was the first person to go to the training room after practice and be like, hey, can I drive you home? Like, hey, can I take your kids to daycare the next day? Because I knew how much physical pain and emotional pain that they were in, because when you're in the NFL, man, you're only as good as like your last play, and if you can't play another play, then they'll discard you.
Yeah, you're done.
There's no guaranteed. There's no guaranteed contracts. There's nothing's guaranteed. And so that's why they call it the not for long league. You know what I mean? And I'm just super blessed and super fortunate, so thankful that I was able to play at the most elite level long enough to achieve every single goal that I had set out for myself, in addition to being able to not walk away from the game when I wanted to. I skipped away from the game. Like, I was happy. I felt achieved in everything in that industry, but I wasn't happy with myself.
It's amazing someone like you, because there's people watching this. There's a nurse watching this right now, right? There's a school teacher. There's an entrepreneur watching this. And they are connecting.
And a lot of military people watch this, man. I know, because they always tell me, like, dude, you need to go on Ed's show. I love it. He's going to love you. Like, even people that don't know you and kind of don't really know me, they're like asking me to go do your show, because they know that you're going to crack me open. And it's not even something where you've even had to try.
No, because I love you the way I love you the way you are.
Yeah, and you see me, man.
I do. And what's amazing about you, bro, and that you have this gift, many of you too. People, the beautiful part of being wired like you are, and I'm wired this way too, is that we have such great empathy for others. We don't give it to ourselves. But like you,
that doesn't hit me like right in between the eyes. It's sick.
It's like, so many of you are watching this. You're like, I am the person who kind of cares for people. When someone's sick, I am the one who bring them dinner. I am the one who visit them. I'm the one who sends the text. You don't look like it, though.
And
you don't either. And you don't either. We're tattooed. I'm buff dudes, and
I can hide all my tattoos. But
and by the way, and guys, like, many times, everybody, when you see mega achievers, we are hiding things. And so, because what this show is really about isn't you maxing out your wealth, although I want you to have it, maxing out your career when you have it. I want you to max out your bliss. I want you to max out your faith. I want you to max out your giving. I want you to max out your love for yourself. And maybe, Steve, honestly, maybe you're going to get through to people in a way that nobody else can.
There's no maybe, dude.
And
there's no maybe.
Yeah,
I speak it into existence. I will have such a massive influence. People forget that I ever touched the football. You look at all the different things that we keep referencing, the different achievements that I make, and I want to make sure that people know, like, we didn't come on here to talk about the different things that I achieved. We came on here to talk about the different things that I've achieved and the way I felt about myself despite all of those things. There's two different types of happiness. There's instantaneous happiness that comes from sex or drugs or food or those, or buying a new watch, buying a new car. But as quickly as that happiness comes into your life is how quickly it will fade. But the thing that you figured out, and the thing that I'm really starting to kind of come into is framework happiness, and that comes from being proud of yourself. And the only way that you can truly be proud of yourself is to set high, lofty goals, and regardless if you achieve them or not, it's not about the prize, it's about the process and the person that you become while you're on that pursuit to get that goal. And I completely missed that part of the puzzle, because I always tied my self-worth to the result, because I was conditioned that way. You go into the NFL and we have a game on Sunday night or on Monday night, and you come in the next morning, Ed, and then the only time that little laser pointer ever goes over your jersey, you're freaking sinking down in your seat, because you know that red dot is not over your jersey number because you did something good. Because when you're a professional and you're the best in the world at what you did, not that you don't deserve to be acknowledged, but you're expected to be the best in the world. So when you go out there and you set a Super Bowl record, you don't necessarily deserve to get acknowledged. They're going to pinpoint what you didn't do perfectly because that's what coaches are supposed to do. They're not here to be like, hey, Ed, dude, you did a really good job showing up for your workout this morning. You did all your reps, all your sets, and you did a good job. You finished second in all the sprints. I know you're not the fastest guy, but your effort level was wonderful. No, they're going to be like, Ed, why didn't you win all of the sprints? You know what I mean? And so it conditioned me to focus on what I didn't do perfectly and discard everything that I did wonderfully. And so I took that mindset that got me into the NFL and then propelled me further into the NFL of the elite. And then once I retired from the NFL, because I didn't feel like there was anything else that I could achieve that would fulfill me and turn off the hate machine, then I went into an entrepreneur. I'd be like, you know what? I need to build something for myself and something that's mine, like my business and my achievement, because I had 52 other teammates and I love them to death, but I want the next Super Bowl that I win to be mine. And then, you know, I write an ebook for a 12-week arm training program that took me from 16.75 inches when I retired from the NFL to 19 inches 94 days later. And I took 5 months to learn how to do the graphics on my own, to learn how to put it into an ebook on my own, to learn how to embed videos into text on my own. It took me 5 months, but I went through the process of learning it to do it for myself. I made $1 million with an arm training ebook by myself with no business background in 7 months.
Amazing.
You want to know how good I felt about myself? Pretty freaking bad, man. You know what I mean? Because you continually think like, well, now I'm going to do it for me and I'll own the success. And I never did that.
Yes.
You know, and so you fast forward another year and a half later, and I'm sitting in this chair right now, and all of the other entrepreneurial successes that I've had, I've never owned any of the wins, and I've taken complete ownership of all of the losses.
Why? Do you think that you thought, I want to understand this, because I know what it was for me.
I'm still trying to understand
it. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you think that you thought, let's talk about it, let's explore it for a minute, because I'm learning this about me too, right? So do you think that you thought, I'm just asking, I don't know. Do you think that you thought, well, if I celebrate this, I'll lose my edge and my drive?
Yeah, I do. The only time that I ever partied or I ever, you know, had drinks after we won the Super Bowl was when I was paid to show up at a club, or when I was paid to go to speak to a law firm in Manhattan. Dude, I made a lot of money in like 2 weeks just doing that, and all of that affirmation felt wonderful. But like at a certain point, you get desensitized to it, and you just couldn't wait for all of it to be over. And I'm like, man, I waited my whole life, and I made so many sacrifices, and I sacrificed thousands of hours away from my family and thousands of hours away from my friends, and I missed out on a lot of partying and a lot of drugs in college.
Yeah,
you know
you cheated yourself out of all that. Yeah,
I cheated myself out of all that for this, and this doesn't make me any happy.
And by the way, what it arrives to, everyone, is that eventually you will find drugs and alcohol. I mean, because here's what happens when you're achieving and you don't celebrate your wins. It's like a high you're chasing. And so there's no dopamine that hits your brain. So then you go, it needs to be a bigger one. Right. It needs to be a bigger one.
There was nothing bigger in the NFL. That's what
you got it. And that's the part. So you're the perfect example, because you almost can't achieve more. So this is happening for someone out there. When I made my $100,000, I cheated myself. When I bought my first house, I cheated myself. When I got my promotion at work, I cheated. And you keep cheating yourself from these celebrations.
You just realize that Ed, that all of these things that require so much sacrifice, I'm talking thousands of hours of sacrifice, you know, tons of money in order to be able to afford all these different training modalities and all these different specialists. And I have a hyperbaric chamber at my house. I mean, dude, you name it, and I have utilized it as part of my training routine, at least for a little bit. And the stakes get higher, the demands grow just as much, and the satisfaction decreases. And so, like, where do you turn from that? Well, you tear your ankle up, and the doctors put you on pain pills, and then you get addicted to OxyContin, and I went down that road. And then, you know, getting off of that when the season was over was like a movie, you know, like the only thing that made me feel better, and I know a lot of people out there, this is like a big deal, like people addicted to painkillers, the only thing that would make me feel better was taking like a hot bath, because my skin would stop crawling.
Here's the irony. You winning a Super Bowl didn't inspire anybody. Really doesn't. They can't even relate to that. You looking like this, people tell you and I, this inspires me.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, they're like, it's more like I'd like to be like you, but I can't be like you.
Right.
Okay. What's inspiring in life is not the great things you achieve. What's inspiring in life is overcoming the things in your life that hold you back. And so for the first time, bro, in your life, you're authentically being inspiring. Inspiring, the root of the word inspire is to be in spirit. So what you were doing before is motivating. That's motives. I want to touch your motive to make money.
It's a powerful way of
it is.
of looking
Motive
at it.
you to get a good, motive is to get a good body. Motive is to win the Super Bowl. Motive is to achieve. These are motives. That's motivation. You've been extremely motivational throughout your life. That's not inspirational.
Right.
Inspirational is spirit to spirit.
I'm gonna take that with me, man.
It's true.
That's powerful.
Inspirational is, hey man, I don't feel good about myself either.
Right.
Hey brother, I've been hurting. Hey man, I've had some substance issues. Hey man, like I got this unbelievable family, and sometimes when I'm with them, I'm not happy.
Right.
I have these beautiful spirits here. What's inspiring is to hear that and then to see you turn it around.
There's been so many amazing things that have come into my life in the last 21 days, and I haven't tried for any of them. Like, I didn't call you and say,
Yes.
hey, you could do this podcast. Like, you called me.
Yes, right.
And I was like, are you kidding me? Dude, I'd be honored. You know what I mean? I've been
Thank you.
waiting for this day.
Thank you.
And I dropped everything that I had planned today because this is something that was on my bucket list, and it wasn't on my bucket list to build my brand, to grow my business.
Yeah. Yet it will do that. Isn't that the
Yeah,
irony?
and that's a crazy thing. It's
Yet
just
it
like,
will do that
it will do
effortlessly.
that.
It's what most people do is the reverse of you. So what most people do is your imposter life, right, to some extent, was an achievement life. It's like one of the great lives. Like if we just said, okay, everybody born, you're 35, 34?
35.
35. We drew the line. Everybody born the same year as you. Let's add up their life.
Yeah.
You'd been the 1/1,000,000th of 1% of the best external lives, right? Mm-hmm. So you're kind of masking this guy thing, cause achievement. Most people that are watching this, the manifestation of their mask is they're playing it safe someone else's life. I'm making everybody, I'm working the career my dad told me to. I'm going to the college my parents wanted me to. I'm doing what my wife thinks I should be doing. My husband thinks I should be doing this, this, and this. And every time I try to do something different, I get criticism, I get pain. And so you always go back to your safe spot. Your pattern's different. Your pattern is every single time I start to feel this way, I go to an aggressive, vulnerable, crazy spot. Like I'm going to go achieve more. But a lot of people, the same feeling manifests themselves in comfort. I'm just going to stay in this box. Everyone likes me in this box. They like me when I'm normal. They like me when I don't chase my dream. They like me when I'm not changing. They like me when I'm not growing. And so your choice to deal with the mask is to be the person everybody else expects you to be. And so what you got to decide when you're watching this, if he has the courage to have achieved all this, and to say, hey, I'm making changes. Your change is to stop playing it so freaking safe.
Yeah.
Your change is to stop playing small. At least you took this struggle and played big.
Yeah.
And you need to give yourself credit for that, brother. Most people take the struggle and play small. Okay, what I'm here to tell you and what you're now realizing is you don't have to struggle.
No.
So let me ask you this. If you could go back, this is gonna be interesting. You could grab that 5-year-old little Steve Weatherford. Little Steve, who was crying to mom at that time. And you could grab him now, knowing the 35-year-old man, and you could grab him. What would you say to that little boy?
To be able to kind of navigate the advice that I would give the 5-year-old version of myself is, dude, you're enough. You know, just go have fun. Like, you are what God made you to be. Go out and be the best at whatever it is that you try to do. But don't place all your self-worth on if you win or you lose, because if you max out, your motto, if you max out, you're gonna be the best version of yourself. You're gonna be the greatest athlete of yourself. You're gonna be the greatest father, the greatest friend, the greatest dad, the greatest entrepreneur. And that's why I am so like genuinely, like authentically, like excited to wake up every single day, because I don't dread the changing of the costumes. You know what I mean? Like I pack a pretty light bag. You know what I mean?
That's really well said.
You know
That's
what I mean?
really well said, bro.
Because it really is, man. It's an exhausting existence when you feel like you have to change your hat or your mask depending on who you're in front of or what you think that they
See, the symptoms are different, but the disease is the same. So what you just said is, it's exhausting. Everyone that's watching this, you're so tired, aren't you? You're tired of showing up and being the person everybody else. Now, unfortunately for you, the person that everybody expects you to be is this stud achiever, great dad, businessman, football player, bodybuilder, businessman. There's a lot of pressure to show up as you.
Right.
And it is exhausting. And let me tell you how else it's exhausting. There's a lot of pressure for all of you watching this. Listen, everyone, it's the same disease, different symptom. Okay? The pressure for you is to conform. The pressure for you is to be average. So what's amazing what you're saying is the pressure on me to achieve and show up. It's the same for those of you that watch this. Like, my husband doesn't want me to start a business. No, but I got back in shape and I started to get criticism from my girlfriends. Or, you know, hey man, I've started to make some money and my buddies think I've sold out now. And they get all this heat and criticism. Stop climbing out of the box. Stop being you. Be who we like. Be the person we think you are. Live the script we gave you. And what he's saying is, I'm kind of tired of living this script, man. Like,
I'm not kind of dude. I'm like,
yeah.
Honestly, and like I've obviously never shared this either. Ed, dude, 4 weeks ago, I was never suicidal, but I was to the point with everything that I had, like all the tangible items and the relationships and devoted wife and amazing kids, amazing. I didn't care if I woke up because I knew if I didn't wake up, the pain would stop. That's heavy, man.
It's heavy, bro.
You know, that's like, that's heavy.
Yeah.
I know how many people would be so sad when I'm gone.
That's right.
But at least I would for a minute, just have like a break.
Yeah. And do you feel like you're in that break now?
Oh, dude, to me, like I'm still fighting like the instincts of like when you're introducing me, like kind of like hiding my face and you're like saying all these nice things about me and how much you admire me and you only follow 80 people on Instagram and I'm one of them. Like that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
But my instinct is to, oh man, well, I appreciate that. Thank you. But honestly, like I should stand up and be like, dude, that makes me so happy, man.
Right.
Like I'm inspired that I inspire you. Because that tells me that what I'm doing is right.
Yeah.
Because it's resonating with somebody that's operating on a higher frequency level. And I'm not on Instagram to make friends. Right. I'm on Instagram to reach people.
You do.
And the fact that I'm able to reach and inspire and resonate with somebody who has the same life purpose on this planet that I do.
Yeah.
Because you and I are really similar because you came from a completely different industry than what I did, but you completely dominated that.
Every time we start to say something good about you, you put it back on someone else.
That's my instinct,
So you
man.
do that. It's your pattern, right? And so all of that, what you said, I'm very grateful for, and I hope and work hard that it's true. You gotta go back and look at all of his posts. Most of what you would see on anybody's social media is perfect, 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 perfect. And so don't always believe everything you see, even in my life. I'm not showing you my bad days. I'm not showing you when I get in the car and I don't want to go to the gym. I'm not showing you the day where I'm worried about my dad's chemotherapy and his cancer. The days when I'm not getting along with somebody in my family. We have all of those things. Those just aren't the things you normally post. And so don't start to get depressed about your own life by comparing it, because now you're hearing two men we post our lives on there, but you don't see every side of our lives until you get more than 1 minute. You only get a minute of our life on social media. You're getting an hour of our life here, and we struggle with the same things that you do, the same ups and downs, the same mental issues, the same everything. What do you want in your life now going forward? Like, are there things that you're going, look, man, I'm on this journey. I've been 3-4 weeks kind of starting to love myself, starting to like myself. You're still an achiever. You're still wired. There's still millions of people who view your stuff over a monthly basis, right? There are people who look to you. So where do you want to go now?
This is probably the first time I've ever said this as well. Like I still have goals, and I know my intention is completely different. My mechanism is completely different. My delivery is completely different. I really just want to focus on being myself, and if I can do that, like God's gonna show me the way. And I'm not like a Bible beater. Like I go to take my kids to church every Sunday. I'm a Christian and I try to live right, dude. I took a shot of tequila before I came in here, man. I have a good time too.
We did.
You know what I mean? Like I live life.
Right, we did. We lived. Right.
But
me too.
My point is I don't want to get caught up so much into the goal of where I'm gonna be in 12 months, where I'm gonna be in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, because then I feel like that's gonna almost kind of reinforce the negative goal pursuit that I used to have. So now my goal every day is to show up, because if I show up, I'm going to show out. And if I show out, I know doors will be open to me. I mean, to the fact that like I'm getting phone calls from like Amazing Race, and I've never pandered to them. I don't even watch their TV show. So if somebody on their team listens to this, I've never watched your show, but I guarantee you, if I end up doing the Amazing Race for the month of November this year, I guarantee you the way that, because I told him I wouldn't do it unless I was doing the show with my wife, because I know sacrificing 30 days away from my family is an opportunity cost for me to nurture that relationship, but I'm willing to exchange that for the platform that they're going to put before me. And it's not to win $1 million. It's not to win in general, but I know if I authentically show up as myself, it's really going to be a race for second place. And then addition to,
I love it.
In addition to the way that they're going to see my wife and I interact, because like you, I'm assuming in your relationships, you're the dominator because you're an action taker, because you're a winner, because you're an achiever, because you see goals and you don't chase them, you assault them. You know what I mean? There's a difference. There's people that are dream chasers and use the hashtag, that's cute and everything. Like people like you and I, and it's not always a great thing. We assault our goals.
You're so right, bro.
You know what I mean? Like you are a lion. And your goal is whatever you want to eat for lunch. You know what I mean?
You're right, brother.
And I'm the same way, and it's an awesome thing, but I want to be able to pursue all of those goals and not leave relationships in my wake, and not, break people's trust in my wake, and not continue to practice selfishness in my wake. I want to be selfless. I want to serve people, and I know if I serve people, karma, God, the universe, call it what you will, my path will be laid before me, and all I need to do is show up as myself and be authentic. And obviously, it's always going to be a part of the formula. I got to work hard because God's not going to do everything. My new authentic self is not some magic pill. It's still going to require everything that it required previously, except for my intention is love instead of hate. So it's just really powerful for me to be able to step into that and have no fear, because it does scare me a little bit to completely change the structure and the formula for achievement, because it works so freaking good for me.
You got it. By the way, just so you know, I'm a Christian. The Holy Spirit speaks through you in this interview to some extent. I just want you to know that, because what you just said is freaking magnificent. Thank you. So much. I just want to repeat some of it back to you and the audience. Like, this is an interview, everyone. Like, when this is done, you need to find another hour, and you need to go back and you need to play it again. You do. You need to go back and play this again. So what you just said there is a wow, like a few things. First, I said, what's your goal and your plan? That was a little bit of a test question, because anytime you've made a big transition in your life, everyone listening to this, you need to go one day at a time. That's why AA programs, and it's one day at a time. You got to start grinding. Going 12 and 24 and 36 months when you're in the transition, you need to show up tomorrow. So that was massive. The second thing is, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. You've built an amazing life for a reason. So maintaining that. By the way, we do assault our goals. We smash things. Everyone who sits in this seat that does these interviews, they don't pursue goals or chase them. They smash them. They attack them. They annihilate them, right? What we're doing now is we're altering the guy who shows up there.
Right.
That's all we're doing. The guy who shows up, Steve, instead of Steve Weatherford, the character. Right? So continue to smash stuff. Continue. The worst thing you could do is to drop your achievement. What you ought to do is go to the next level. And what's crazy is this time, I'm going to enjoy myself as I go. When I get there, I'm partying when I get there and celebrating it this time. I'm going to give myself credit this time. It's not don't go achieve it. It's this time go celebrate it. Go party this time. Let's love myself this time. Let's share it. And what will happen is the results will be magnified. Because for the first time, it won't be motivating. It'll be inspiring. That's what this is today. So
I'm going to take that with me, man. That's really powerful for me. And I don't know if that is for people listening, but maybe it is for me because I've lived that. And I've always felt like God placed it on my heart that I have an innate ability to connect with people and inspire people and motivate people. But you're right, man. I mean, looking back on it, like self-reflecting on when you said that, that is how I was running it. You know, and it was like, I want to motivate, I want to motivate, I want to motivate. It doesn't matter how you get to the result, just get to the result. That's all that matters, because, I was forged into that fire as a pro athlete. But now that I step out of that industry, and I'm not blaming my, kind of my personal issues on the NFL, because that's not what this stance is about, because those issues started when I was 5, not when I was 25. But I'm able to identify those, but it actually, having that mindset really acclimated me to pro sports in a very seamless way, because I didn't need my coaches to set expectation levels for me, because my expectation levels of myself were so insanely high. It was painful, but it reflected in my performance. It reflected in my preparation. It reflected in my sacrifices and my hard work and the priority that I placed on that particular goal in my life. But it also caused so much damage for me intrinsically, and also for relationships, because I would abuse the relationships that I held most dear to me, because I knew that they were always going to love me, Ed.
Yeah.
Because they could see me like the way that you see me. My family could see me that way. My real friends could see me that way. So I knew that they were never going to leave me. I was always chasing the extrinsic kind of like the people that were on the fence about Steve Weatherford. You know, now it's just like, if you're sitting on the fence, give me time, and eventually you're going to hop off and come to our side, because my grass might not always be greener. But I'm not worried about other people's grass. I'm going to water my own lawn.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean?
Come on, dude. Come on. I told you, the Holy Spirit's speaking through this guy. You ain't that good. I'm just curious before we finish things up. Like, I'm inspired. So when you find me at a loss of words,
I want to acknowledge you for that.
Yeah.
I don't take compliments well.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me.
Yeah, well, because it is. And when you find me, when you get me at a loss for words, you've really done something good, brother. So, and you do that to me. I'm just curious. I didn't even plan on asking you this. Did you ever know or play with Steve Gleason?
He was one of my best friends.
Steve was?
Yeah. I mean, he is, but I mean, obviously it's really, I don't want to say a sad story, but you look at how life has happened to him.
You got it.
Did he sit around and be like, life happened to me? No, he turned it around. He's happening to life. Wow. The amount of impact that he has had because of ALS in his life is greater than the person that the disease was named after, Lou Gehrig. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Millions upon millions upon millions of people are positively impacted, not just by the inspiration, not the motivation, but just the life that he's living. He has such a finite amount of time on this earth right now, and he's spending it in service to other people, and it is so freaking inspiring. If people haven't seen his movie, they get your tissues. Because I don't care if you're a football fan or not, man. This guy transcends sports. He transcends competition. He's a saint in my book. You know? I spent a lot of time with him in Southern California, and he is the most unique person I have ever met in my entire life. And I said that before he was diagnosed. I played 3 years with him, and I'm obviously a special teams player, being a punter. But he was my right-hand man. Like, he was the special teams ace on the team, and he really mentored me coming into the league. And I'm a different person because of his life.
Dude, bro, I'm so glad. And by the way, Steve's a friend of mine, and so you know that he's up from the Spokane area, and I live in Coeur d'Alene, and so I'm part of this golf tournament a couple times. And just so you all know, if you haven't, you should take the gift and you should Google who Steve Gleason is if you don't know. But this was a teammate of his, and he's like he's told you, he suffered from ALS. It's interesting to me that two of the most inspirational people I've ever met are you and him. And you're on the same.
I wouldn't be who I was without meeting him, though.
How so?
I mean, he changed how I live my life. You know, he drove a Dodge Ram 2500 veggie diesel truck in a parking lot full of Bentleys and Rolls Royces and Mercedes. And I was always, as a matter of fact, in addition to that, sometimes he rode a bike to work.
Is that right?
A bike-sicle, not a bike like a motorbike. You know what I mean? And he walked in with this crazy long hair and these flip-flops and board shorts. The opposite of what a football player looks like. Because we're walking in wearing Louis Vuitton and Gucci and Rolexes, and you know what I mean? We're feeling ourselves. And you could see a guy that was so comfortable in who he was and so comfortable in his own skin. He didn't beat to anybody else's drum. Right. And it's something that I always just really, really admired about him. And it's something that made people gravitate towards him. But now I didn't realize until this very moment when I say it, he was himself.
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah,
like, now I'm actually able to kind of not be a replica of Steve, but the thing that I admire most about Steve, that's what I am right now when I look in the mirror.
From the second we started the interview, I was waiting to the end to ask you, because I think it's amazing that you guys shared a locker room together and that you were on the same special teams unit, and you both can inspire completely differently. So he did embrace who he was. And so Steve's at this stage of his life, everybody, where he really has lost his capacity to speak, and he's still inspiring. He's still making a difference in the world. And then the juxtaposition is you.
Right.
You're this super stud, super fit,
Physically limitless.
physically
by
limitless
comparison,
person.
you know?
And I think that maybe as we go, that what you're doing today carries on a legacy he's had to inspire people. And the two of you from that same locker room and the same special teams end up doing it completely differently. And I think as you go too, it's important to reflect on someone, you know, like how grateful you should be to have all of these blessings in your life and to have life ahead of you. Because even Steve, if he were here today, would say that he knows that his span of time here is going to be limited too. And so I think it's absolutely incredible that the two of you shared a locker room. And I'm so glad that you guys know each other. Yeah. And
I'm thankful that I know him, and I'm going to accept that compliment that you give me and putting me on the same pedestal as you place Steve. But you know, I want to acknowledge you because every single person that God places in my path that I spend time with, regardless if they're people that I don't admire or people that I do admire, like we have to be thankful for all of those relationships, because even the bad people remind me of what you don't want to be. So it's just kind of like the same way that you might have had an abusive father, and I didn't, but I always pursued like my dad's approval, and like for my dad to say, "I'm proud of you," you know, and it still kind of bothers me that I didn't get that, but he was every other part of being a father that I needed. Yeah. And the fact that he had trouble orating that to me and sharing that to me, you know, from emotional, intimate standpoint, I can't get mad at him. Because he showed me what I don't want to do for my son. So I tell my son every single day that I wake up, I'm proud of you, boy, and I love you. You're perfect and beautiful, and I want you to have a good day. You know what I mean? And so because of what was withheld from me, I'm able to give that to my son. And all the other amazing things, I always gave that to my dad, I always gave that to my son, even before I kind of came to the realization of, I can't live this way anymore. Like, I don't want to live this way anymore. I don't have the time, the energy. I just don't want to live if I have to continue on like this. And so I think people should be thankful for the relationships that they have in their life that they view as not helping them or hurting them or dragging them down. It's all in perspective. You know, there's a very powerful paradigm shift that's happened in my life that I'm just thankful in general for the crap that happens in my life. Like, I might leave your house and drive back to the event that you and I are working at to, you know, to inspire people and not motivate people. That's gonna stick with me, by the way. But I'll drive away from here in a beautiful Range Rover with red interior, and I might get a flat tire. Getting a flat tire freaking sucks, dude. I don't care any way you cut it. But when you have the paradigm shift in your life that I've had, I'm not even bummed about getting a flat tire. You know what? I'm thankful that I'm getting out of a car that I actually really enjoy to drive. And I can change a tire. I have the ability to change, the physical ability to change the tire. You got it. And I have the blessing in my life that I was riding in a car, because there's a lot of people that I just drove by before I got that flat tire that are waiting at the freaking bus.
You got it. And you don't know that flat tire that pulled you over didn't prevent you from getting in an accident that was going to happen an hour ahead too. So there's a blessing in everything. Dude, you are literally one of the most unique, inspiring people I've met on or off camera, and I really feel strongly that there's something you're supposed to be doing that carries on Steve's legacy too, of inspiring people in a completely different way, from a completely different place.
I agree with you, man. I feel like I have a true purpose in my life, and I feel like my purpose is to reach men. Like, I know this is going to inspire and not motivate women as well, because there's a lot of women that deal with the same issues that we're dealing with, like depression.
Of course, it's not gender specific.
It's not gender specific, and it's not race related either, man. Depression hits, and when it hits, it's relentless, man. It is unrelenting, and it is freaking painful. And the bad thing is nobody can see it. So like I shared a little bit of what I've shared with you guys watching and listening. With Ed before we got on here, because I wanted to make sure that he understood why I was here. It wasn't because I wanted to promote anything. And Ed was like, he's like, no, I definitely, we're going to get into all that. But like at the end, how can I help you? You know, can I help your business, or how can I help you? Like, what do you need to promote? And I'm like, honestly, Like I know I don't accept compliments well,
Yep.
and I don't accept favors well because I really just want to be of service. But really, the reason that I'm here is not to use you and not to use your platform, but honestly, like I need people to hear this for my legacy.
Yeah.
I need people to hear this for my fulfillment, and I need people to hear this because people need to hear this.
Yeah, they do.
It will resonate with people, and
millions of people.
And I will get DMs from people that will listen to this show the same way I did when I went on Lewis's House's show, and I was myself, and I was authentic, but I wasn't comfortable and confident enough to go as deep as what we've gone and share some of the things that we've shared. And the reason that I feel brave enough is, and I know I won't get this, but even if I did get, my DMs blown up by people that hate me for some reason, I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I'm myself.
Yeah, you are yourself.
You know what I mean?
The theme of your life, bro, is that you're courageous, and it's just manifesting itself differently. It took courage to, go to school, become an all Big Ten guy. It took courage to go make an NFL team and just sit in that locker room between Bush and Breeze and still dominate, right? It took courage to be the NFL Man of the Year. It took courage to do what you did in Super Bowl. Those are courageous, studly things you've done. Never more courageous than today. Courageous to say, hey, here's who I really am. This is what I struggle with. Courage is inspiring, right? And so even those of you that are listening to this, in your way, in your world, wherever you live right now, whatever town you're in, whatever you're trying to do, what will inspire people isn't the achievement, it's the courage to try. It's the courage to make the effort, right? And so you've never been more inspirational than you were today. And in a way that, let's just be real. When this is over and I reflect on my day, I'm not going to stop thinking about this. Tomorrow morning, I'm going to be thinking about this because it impacts me. It takes real courage to say it in front of the camera, not behind the camera, because it doesn't help anybody if you say it behind the camera. No. You helped millions of people today, bro. And I want to thank you so much for being here. Like, I'm bummed it's ending. But
dude, I'm 45 minutes away, and the nice thing was, and it's kind of like my blankie now, is Ed Mylett, when we were about to have our shot of tequila, and I'm really kind of like pouring my heart out to you, you stopped like the giggling and the bravado and the fun that we were having, and you looked at me dead in my eyes, and you're like, hey, if you're really struggling, I want you to know that you can call me.
Yeah, I do mean that.
And like you can tell when somebody looks at you in your eyes and they like genuinely and authentically like they're there for you and they can really see who you are.
Yeah, bro.
I could feel that, man. You know what I mean? It's special because I've met a lot of people. I've hugged the last 4 presidents. You know what I mean?
That's pretty cool.
I've done some really rad stuff in my life.
Yeah.
But reflecting on all the things that I've done and the people that I've met and the things that I've achieved, the people that have come into my life in the last 21 days.
Cool.
Would blow your mind.
Wonderful.
And you're at the top of that list,
thank
man.
you brother, so much, man.
I
love
that,
you, brother.
Man. I really do.
I really feel like thank you, bro.
Come on, let's tug it out.
Don't cry. Don't cry. It's such
you
a
know
good
what?
time.
I'm comfortable enough with myself. If I did cry on this show, I'd be okay with that because they would be authentic tears.
You started to, but I really feel like it's the end of the interview, but the beginning of what I hope to be a lifelong friendship.
No,
and I mean
hope.
that.
There's no hope, man, dude. There's energies attract, and especially energies that honestly are like contagious, because anytime I genuinely feel like I'm having a rough day, as busy as you are, like I could see it in your eyes when we were standing at that bar. But
I'm right here, man.
Like, buddy, I'll be here for you.
I am here for you.
You know what I mean? So
I promise
there's
you.
no hope that it's going to turn into something that's going to be beautiful and benefit lots of people. And who knows what type of projects we're going to work on in the future. But
I can't wait to meet your family.
Yeah, man.
Because this dude, just so you know, under all this is a cuddle bear. So you need to see 100%. This dude with his children. 5, right? Boy and 4 girls, right? Yeah. This is a busy dude, 10 all the way to a 5-month-old, right? Dude, so you're talking about a busy family man here. And what I want you to do, even though he wouldn't say it earlier, is I know this changed your life, it changed my life. And I know to some extent it even changes yours.
No, it absolutely changed my life. I feel like, I feel liberated that the people that watch this, the only people that really know me are the people that watch this, and the conversations that I've had in between 21 days ago and this moment that we're in right now.
Yeah.
That's a lot of people. And it's a lot of people that really see me now.
Yeah, brother.
It's special to me.
And need you, and needs you too. And so even though he wouldn't admit earlier, you need to follow this man on his journey. You're going to learn, there's all the things that he's the best at, like fitness and working out and being a dad, and all these things. You're going to be blown away if you don't follow Steve like I do, because I get inspired about being a better dad when I follow you and being more fit. I told you, I said, what's keeping me going in my fitness right now, because I'm dragging, is you, right? Like watching your training. And so So I want you following him and on his journey, but I also want you to watch this evolution too as more and more of you starts to come out. And so please follow him. And bro, really thank you so much for today. And man, like just, I don't know, I'm beyond words, and I'm never beyond words. And so everybody that's watching this, I hope that you'll follow him. If you're watching this on YouTube, give it a like, give it a comment, right? If you're on iTunes, we're #1 in the world right now. Well, actually, we're #1 in the US, #1 in the UK. #1 in Australia, #4 in Canada. So Canada, we got to get it going. So please give the thing a review on iTunes. And then lastly, every day on social media, I do the max out 2-minute drill, which is when I make a post on Instagram, if you make a comment within the first 2 minutes with the hashtag max out, you win. We do a daily drawing. That drawing could be a 15-minute coaching call with me. It might be one with Steve Weatherford. It could be max out gear. It could be whatever 100%. You want. And so Steve's agreed to do that. You're going to get a 15-minute call, one of you with him. And then if you miss the first 2 minutes, as long as you make a comment every single day, at the end of the week, we add those up. We do a drawing for people to just comment at any time during the day as well. So make sure you do that. And I want to continue to encourage you to have the courage to chase your dream, the courage to be the real you, the courage to be inspiring, like Steve Weatherford next to me here today, the courage to max out your life. God bless you.